Ambassador Chen Wei stood in the grand reception hall of the Galactic Council station, a sleek silver carrier clutched in her hands. Inside, curled into a perfect ball of gray fur, was Mr. Whiskers, her British short-hair cat. The ambassador had been warned repeatedly by Earth Command that bringing a personal pet to the first official diplomatic meeting with 17 alien species was unprofessional. She had ignored them entirely. The reception hall stretched out like a cathedral made of crystal and starlight. Beings from across the galaxy mingled in small clusters, their forms ranging from the insectoid Karith with their 4 compound eyes to the gaseous Valorum who floated in containment suits. Ambassador Chen had memorized every species profile during her 6-month journey to the station, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of standing among them. She set the carrier down on a floating platform near the refreshment table. Mr. Whiskers immediately woke up, stretched with the kind of dramatic flair only cats could manage, and pressed his pink nose against the mesh door. His round copper eyes surveyed the room with the bored superiority that came naturally to his kind. A delegation from Thaxos Prime approached first. The Thaxians were tall, crystalline beings who communicated through light patterns that flickered across their transparent bodies. Their translator devices rendered their speech into Mandarin for Chen's benefit. "Greetings, human ambassador. We understand you have brought a biological companion. This is acceptable under Article 47 of the Diplomatic Accord." Chen smiled and unlatched the carrier door. "This is Mr. Whiskers. He's what we call a cat, a domesticated predator that humans keep for companionship." Mr. Whiskers stepped out onto the platform with measured grace. He sat down, wrapped his tail around his paws, and stared at the Thaxians with unblinking intensity. The crystalline beings flickered with what the translator identified as curiosity. "Fascinating. A predator. Yet it is small. What does it hunt? Mice, birds, insects?" "Small creatures," Chen explained. "Though Mr. Whiskers here mostly hunts the red dot from laser pointers and the occasional houseplant." The Thaxians flickered in confusion, but before Chen could elaborate, a commotion erupted near the center of the hall. The Krith delegation had noticed the cat. 6 of the insectoid diplomats scuttled backward, their mandibles clicking in rapid distress. Their translator broadcast panicked chirps. "Apex predator! Apex predator detected! Defensive positions!" Chen raised her hands in a calming gesture. "No, no! He's perfectly harmless. He's domesticated. He lives in apartments and sleeps 18 hours a day." But the Krith were not listening. Their compound eyes had locked onto Mr. Whiskers, who had begun grooming his paw with complete indifference to the chaos he was causing. One of the younger Krith fainted, its legs folding beneath it like a collapsed tent. A Valorum diplomat floated closer, its gaseous form swirling with shades of concerned purple inside its containment suit. The mechanical voice crackled through its speaker. "Ambassador Chen, we must inform you that your companion is registering extremely high on our predator danger sensors. The biometric readings indicate a kill efficiency rating of 9.3. That is higher than a Dravik's war cat." Chen blinked. "I'm sorry, did you say 9.3? Mr. Whiskers, he's afraid of cucumbers." "We do not understand this reference to cucumbers, but our sensors are never wrong. Your creature possesses retractable claws with monomolecular edges, eyes designed for low-light hunting with motion tracking capabilities that exceed military-grade targeting systems, and we are detecting a rudimentary form of personal cloaking ability." "That's just how cats are," Chen said weakly. "They're ambush predators, but very small ones." Mr. Whiskers chose that moment to yawn, revealing a mouth full of needle-sharp teeth and a pink tongue. The sound that emerged was a tiny squeak that Chen found adorable. The assembled aliens did not share her opinion. A wave of retreating bodies rippled through the reception hall. A representative from the Morathian Empire, a species that resembled upright bears covered in midnight blue fur, stepped forward. Morathians were known as some of the fiercest warriors in the galaxy. The representative's name was Karzon, and his file indicated he had personally led 3 planetary conquests. Human ambassador, I must express concern. Your species claims to seek peace, yet you bring an apex predator to a diplomatic function. Is this a demonstration of your military capabilities? What? No. He's a pet, a companion animal. Humans have lived with cats for thousands of years. Karzon's ears flattened against his skull. You have domesticated an apex predator? You live with it? In your dwelling spaces? Yes, millions of humans do. Billions, probably, if you count all the cats on Earth. The Morathian took 3 steps backward. Your species cohabitates with billions of apex predators, by choice. Mr. Whiskers decided the conversation had gone on long enough without attention being paid to him. He hopped down from the platform and padded across the gleaming floor toward the refreshment table. His movement was liquid and silent. Every eye in the hall tracked him like he was a thermal detonator rolling across the ground. He reached the table where various species had contributed dishes from their homeworlds. There were phosphorescent fungi from Delta Carini, crystallized proteins from the Thaxian system, and a large bowl of what appeared to be living gelatin from somewhere Chen didn't recognize. Mr. Whiskers sniffed each offering with aristocratic disdain. Then he spotted it. Sitting innocently on the edge of the table was a small decorative plant, something the Valorum had brought as a gift. It had purple leaves and emitted a faint, pleasant glow. Mr. Whiskers' pupils dilated. His haunches lowered. His tail began to twitch. "Oh no," Chen whispered. "Mr. Whiskers, don't you dare!" The cat pounced. It was not a particularly impressive pounce by cat standards. He simply hopped onto the table and batted at the plant with one paw. But to the assembled aliens, it was a display of predatory behavior from a creature they had just learned lived inside human homes. The plant toppled over. Mr. Whiskers attacked it with both front paws, rolling onto his back to kick at it with his hind legs. To Chen, it was typical cat behavior. To everyone else, it was a terrifying demonstration of a multi-limb assault strategy. "By the 7 stars," breathed a diplomat from the Cascade Collective, a species of aquatic beings in mobile water tanks. "It employs rapid strike tactics with all 4 limb clusters simultaneously. I have seen this technique used by Cortharian death squads." "He's playing," Chen insisted. "It's play behavior. He thinks the plant is a toy." But the damage was done. The Krith delegation had already fled the hall entirely. The Thaxians were flickering in patterns that the translator identified as distress signals. Even Karzon the Morathian warrior looked unsettled. A new voice cut through the chaos. "Perhaps I can offer some perspective." Everyone turned to see a member of the Anshiri collective approaching. The Anshiri were an ancient species, possibly the oldest in the known galaxy. They resembled elongated humanoids with skin that shifted between silver and gold. Their diplomat, Elder Nashira, moved with slow dignity. "I have studied the humans extensively," Nashira said, her voice like wind through chimes. "Their evolution is fascinating and terrifying in equal measure. They did not domesticate the cat through force or breeding programs as one might expect. The cats domesticated themselves." Chen nodded eagerly. "Yes, exactly. Around 9,000 years ago, when humans developed agriculture, rodents came to eat the stored grain. Cats came to hunt the rodents. Humans appreciated this and began leaving food out for the cats. Eventually, cats just moved in with humans voluntarily." Nashira continued. "And humans, despite being apex predators themselves, found these smaller predators endearing. They welcomed them into their homes, their sleeping spaces, their most vulnerable areas. The relationship is symbiotic but unusual. The cat provides companionship and pest control. The human provides food, shelter, and affection." The human is also an apex predator, squeaked a Krith who hadn't yet fled. But they are so soft. No claws, no natural armor, limited sensory capabilities. Chen felt a strange sense of pride. Humans are pursuit predators. We're not the fastest or strongest, but we can track prey for days without stopping. We can throw projectiles with accuracy. We can work in coordinated groups. And we have intelligence that allows us to create tools and weapons. Mr. Whiskers had finished destroying the plant and was now grooming himself, one leg stuck straight up in the air in that peculiar way cats clean themselves. He looked utterly ridiculous and completely unconcerned with the diplomatic incident he'd caused. Curzon spoke again, his voice thoughtful. So humans are persistence hunters who have chosen to share their territory with ambush predators. And these predators trust humans enough to expose their vulnerable undersides during rest. Well, yes, Chen said. Mr. Whiskers sleeps on my bed every night. Usually on my face. On your face, Curzon repeated slowly. Where you breathe, where your sensory organs are located, where your brain is housed. He's warm and fuzzy, Chen said defensively. Elder Nashira made a sound that might have been a laugh. Do you understand now, assembled representatives? This is humanity. They are so confident in their position as apex predators that they invite other apex predators into their most intimate spaces. They do this not out of foolishness, but because they have mastered their environment so thoroughly that they can afford to share it with creatures that could, theoretically, harm them. Mr. Whiskers wouldn't harm me, Chen protested. Perhaps not intentionally, Nashira agreed. But he possesses the capability, those claws, those teeth, those predatory instincts. Yet you trust him completely, just as he trusts you not to use your vastly superior size and strength against him. This is the human way, building relationships based on mutual benefit and affection, even across predatory lines. The hall had gone quiet. Mr. Whiskers finished grooming and jumped down from the table. He padded over to Chen and rubbed against her legs, purring loud enough that several aliens could hear it. The sound made a few of them jump. "What is that noise?" asked a Thaxian. "Is it a threat display?" "It's purring," Chen said, bending down to scratch behind Mr. Whiskers' ears. "It means he's content. It's how cats show happiness." "The apex predator has a happiness sound," Curzon said wonderingly. "And you can identify and respond to it." "Of course. He also has different meows for different things. One for food, one for attention, one for when he's annoyed. You learn to understand them." Elder Nashira addressed the assembled diplomats. "I propose we continue with the reception. The human has brought her companion as an act of good faith, to share a piece of her culture with us. We should honor that, even if we find it unsettling." Slowly, hesitantly, the various delegations began to relax. Some kept their distance from Mr. Whiskers, but others approached cautiously. The Valorum diplomat floated closer, its sensors scanning the cat continuously. "Remarkable," it said. "The creature's heart rate indicates complete calm. It perceives no threats in this environment despite being surrounded by unknown species. Either it is supremely confident or supremely oblivious." "Little bit of both," Chen admitted. "Cats think they own every space they occupy." A younger Thaxian diplomat flickered with what translated as curiosity. "May I attempt interaction with your companion?" Chen smiled. "Sure. Just hold out your hand. Let him sniff you first. Move slowly. He's friendly, but he likes to decide things on his own terms." The Thaxian extended one crystalline appendage. Mr. Whiskers regarded it with mild interest, sniffed delicately, then rubbed his cheek against it. The gesture left a faint smear of scent markers, invisible to most species, but significant to cats. "It marked me," the Thaxian said, flickering rapidly. "What does this mean?" "It means he likes you," Chen explained. "Cats have scent glands in their cheeks. When they rub against something, they're claiming it as part of their territory. It's a friendly gesture. I have been claimed by an apex predator, the Thaxian said slowly. This is the greatest honor of my career. Other diplomats began to approach, curiosity overcoming fear. Mr. Whiskers, finding himself the center of attention, played his role perfectly. He allowed gentle touches, purred obligingly, and even performed a few tricks Chen had taught him, jumping onto her shoulder when called and giving a high five with his paw. Karzan watched from a distance, his expression thoughtful. Finally, he approached Chen directly. Human Ambassador, I believe I understand something now about your species. You are not showing us your weapons or your war machines. You are showing us that you can afford to be gentle, that you choose companionship over conquest, even with creatures that retain their predatory nature. Chen hadn't thought about it that way, but she nodded. Maybe. Or maybe we just like cats. Perhaps both truths exist simultaneously, Karzan said. He looked down at Mr. Whiskers. With your permission, I would like to attempt interaction. Go ahead. The massive Morathian warrior, veteran of 3 planetary conquests, knelt down and carefully extended one clawed hand. Mr. Whiskers sniffed it, seemed to approve, and head-butted Karzan's palm. The warrior's eyes widened. He began to gently scratch the cat's head, and Mr. Whiskers' purr increased in volume. Extraordinary, Karzan breathed. I can feel the vibrations. Is this the happiness sound? That's the happiness sound, Chen confirmed. The reception continued for another 3 hours. By the end, Mr. Zhao, Whiskers had been petted by representatives of 14 different species. The Krith delegation eventually returned, though they maintained a respectful distance. Several diplomats requested detailed files about Earth's domesticated animals, particularly cats and dogs. The Thaxian who had been marked by Mr. Whiskers announced that it would be commissioning a holographic sculpture to commemorate the moment. As Chen packed up Mr. Whiskers for the return to their quarters, Elder Nashira approached one final time. You have done well today, Ambassador. Better than you know. Many species feared humanity because we knew little about you. Now we know you are strong enough to be gentle, confident enough to be vulnerable, and wise enough to form bonds across species lines. These are the qualities of a species that will thrive in the galactic community. Chen smiled tiredly. I just brought my cat to work. Yes, Nashira agreed. And in doing so, you taught us more about humanity than 1,000 policy documents could have conveyed. Back in her quarters, Chen released Mr. Whiskers from his carrier. The cat immediately jumped onto the bed, circled 3 times, and settled into a loaf position. Chen sat beside him, stroking his soft fur. You caused quite a stir today, mister. Mr. Whiskers slow blinked at her, the cat equivalent of a kiss. He had no idea he'd just revolutionized galactic diplomacy. He only knew that he'd been petted by many strangers, had successfully murdered a plant, and was now back in his preferred sleeping location. Chen's communication console chimed. Messages were already flooding in from various delegations, requests for more information about Earth's domestic animals, invitations to further cultural exchanges. One message from the Morathian Empire simply read, Humanity has passed our evaluation. We wish to establish formal alliance. Also, please send more information about these dogs we have heard about. Chen laughed and laid back on the bed. Mr. Whiskers immediately climbed onto her chest, kneading with his paws before settling down. Tomorrow would bring new diplomatic challenges, treaty negotiations, and the complex work of integrating humanity into galactic civilization. But tonight, an Earth ambassador and her cat slept peacefully on a space station orbiting a neutron star, while 17 alien species reconsidered everything they thought they knew about predators, pets, and the strange, gentle species called humans.